Okay, with Lee you have 2 or 3 choices of auto powder measures for the progressively loaders. I went with the Lee Auto Drum powder measure, and the reason why is because it's adjustable. You can buy extra drums and just swap. Once you set the drum, you can buy a couple others and set them for powder charges. And it's fine adjustable, and we'll go over that here. Now there's a whole bunch of videos out on this, and this item, okay, was about $50 delivered, so I'm going to factor that into the overall cost in the end. So I got this powder measure. Now there's a lot of good videos out there about this. One guy in particular was brought to my attention, Fortune Cookie 45LC. Did a video way back when they first come out a few years ago. He does real in-depth video, explains this measure and proves it out, weighed powder charges, it's pretty consistent. He even made follow-up videos about troubleshooting it when people had problems with it. So you can check him out. He also does powder coating bullets. The one thing about the guy, he explains stuff in detail in a way you can understand it. So I'm not really going to get into details on this powder measure. It's going to be kind of a down and dirty thing of how I'm setting it up. So what you get in the box, you get the measure like this, all set. And you notice there's a screw right there, little screw. We're going to leave that alone. And there's your drum. And you get your standard Lee tube or whatever for most of the powder measures. And this thing here, you know, it's got the quick drain plug there. And it, like most of the Lee powder measures like this, you can twist this and the little hole in the bottom shut it on and off. You know, your powder flow. So we got the powder hopper. That's ready. You have to excuse me. Too much on my mind. Alright, now this powder measure uses a disconnect, which this is part of the disconnect here, the chain, the little button, and the chain is to be used for the disconnector when you set it up on a progressive reloader. There's another piece. So I took these out and looked at them. And here's the other little tab that's part of the disconnector system. And then you have 2 of these adjustment keys which lock in. This is your adjustable drum, and that little key goes in there and you turn this threaded thing and that adjusts your cylinder to the amount of powder you want. What I decided to do, if you look at Fortune Cookie 45LC's video, I'm not going to put the disconnector on. Now the disconnector, you have to manually trip it each time to throw a powder charge. Helps you not to double charge. The way he was using it in a single stage press, he just runs it up, charges, takes the case out, puts it in the block. So the safety issue is eliminated. On this machine, the Breech Lock Pro, it automatically indexes. So if you miss a charge or don't hit the charge right, it's going to index anyway. There's no way to double charge. So I'm just going to skip putting the disconnector on and the chain and everything else. And I think the way that works is this arm travels back and forth, but with the screw in place, it's in the back position, and I think we're good to go. So now your drums. How it works, and like I said, if you check out the more detailed videos, you got this knob, and what you do is you unscrew it here on the back, and you just back this off, and this also pulls the drum into the measure itself. You back this knob off. where it comes off. It's taking so long. All right. The knob comes off. Damn on. And then your drum will pull out of the measure. And there you have your measure exposed. Now there's a little nylon thing right there which should, shave your powder. There's a ring in here, I guess, to allow any dust to collect. And this surface should be nice and smooth with no scratches, no defects. Because one of the things people complain about is when this drum rotates, when you actuate this drum actually rotates. There's your hole, and turns and dumps the powder. If you hear what he called a chattering or grinding or something, you got something wrong. Either you tighten the knob on the backside and draw this in tighter, okay? Draw the drum in tighter so there's no space. Or you have grit or something in there, you have to, but later on that when we troubleshoot. But first of all, inspect it. Make sure it's nice and clean. Now the drum, here's your reservoir or tube, and your key goes in to this here, and when you turn it, it takes the screw up and down and changes your amount of power. Now the drum that comes with the measure is a large capacity drum. And there's a way you can change these to a small capacity drum. Turn the key until you get the end of the drum to come up right here. Okay? And on the side is this little, it's right in there, this little disc. Pull this out. And that's what you're looking at. And you can convert a large capacity to small by taking this disc and inserting it in there until it locks. You hear it snap. Now, and it tells you in the instructions the capacity. But I only want to throw 4 grains of powder. So that's why I'm placing this in there and shortening it up. Now I'm going to back it back down in there, and I'm going to show you in the instructions, they give you a down and dirty way to set your charge. And what you would do is you would back this down in there, a ways like that, and then you get your powder charge, which I know what I want to throw. It's 4 grains of powder. So what I'm going to do is back this down and then pour the powder into the measure. And then what I'm going to do is turn this key till I get that powder. I don't know if you can see it or not. About flush or to where it's coming out. So this way it'll save me some time of fooling around adjusting the charges. I'll be close to where it'll only be like a minimal turn. And this is in the instructions. And I just keep turning it. I'd say a little more to be on the safe side. So there the powder's about flush in there. So that should get me close to where I want to go. Right there. That should get me pretty close with a very minor adjustment. I'm going to take the key out. Now another thing they said is you get powdered graphite to lubricate this nylon drum. So what I'm going to do Get a little bit of the graphite here on my finger. And I'm going to put it, just rub it on the drum a little. Now this is like used for locks, to lubricate. You put that little powdered graphite in there and it lubricates a door lock or something. And you can get it in any hardware store. But we're going to lube this up here. Alright, now that we have powdered graphite all over my fingers, clothes, the table and everything, we're going to reassemble our measure. So we should have our drum set to where it goes. And then I think it only goes in one way, which this should be pointing up towards the reservoir. Then I'll put our knob back on, and this it's hard to tell with the pressure, and I think that's the problem people have, is how tight to turn this, because it's spring loaded and it doesn't really quite go in there freely. And if you don't have a good sense how much pressure, and you kind of don't want to over tighten it either. Alright, that's fairly good. Doesn't feel like there's no play. And really, I can't tell until I set the rest of it. So, what we're going to do is we're going to get ready to set this into the machine. It might be, so I'm really not sure with it automatically indexing how to adjust it and set to one station. But I'll show you, we'll get prepped and ready to go here. Okay, remember our Lee progressive die set? We have our neck expander with the powder through. So you take that nut and O-ring off of the die. We're not going to need it. Because I bought a bunch of these breech lock deals that lock with an Allen wrench at the top. So we're going to screw this in a bit and get this thing ready. Now, I also bought the auto disc riser, the Lee auto disc riser. And what this is just a little riser and adapter. You got an O-ring on the end of it, an extension which goes in there. You may or may not need it. I got it because, and then we just screw that in to the top here. Get it snug. And then this will help us lift the whole apparatus up higher. And then our measure, basically our measure screws into this here. So we'll put that in where it's snug. So there's our whole apparatus ready to be mounted in the machine and tightened down. And then we'll take it from there. Okay, I put my breech lock in there. I took out the priming arm so you can see any extension. And we're going to try, just by trial and error, to make sure I have a full stroke. And how I'd know I have a full stroke, see, this isn't coming back all the way, is it? Hold on. Okay, I have it mounted. I have the disconnector mechanism off. I'm not going to fool with that. And what we need is we need this to go up, and where this drum is, when it actuates, that the drum spins over to about here. And again, what's a real pain is this is all automatically indexing. So when I get the case over, I run it up, and I see it's not quite going all the way. Alright, so I'll pull that one down, and I'll give it another turn or two. Run this one up. Not quite. I guess this, if you look in here, this little arm's supposed to go up all the way, so. Go 1, 2 more. That looks like full actuation. Okay. And then also what I will do, I don't have my pan lined up, I'll take that last case out. This is something you're going to have to fool with until you adjust it. And I want to check and make sure it's expanding the mouth correctly. Okay, it looks like I have full actuation, and it looks like it's belling out or expanding the mouth enough to where I'm good. So we're going to call that good right there, and I'll just tighten it down with the Allen wrench, tighten this down, and lock it in a position, and then we'll try throwing some powder charges. So I got my Allen wrench, and tighten the lock ring down on the breech lock adapter. Now, like I said, this is all going to be, we're going to just try to put some powder charges in. So, I have my reservoir, line it up right there, get that into place. Fill some powder up in it. Now generally this flake powder, you got to throw a few charges for it to settle out. And so also, I'm not going to set up the other thing until my measure is adjusted correctly. I'm not going to set up the other dies yet. So because this automatically advances, down here on the plate, I'm going to pull out, see on a Dillon, take a look here. If you noticed, I did a video where you have to adjust these little plastic arms here. Well, on this station here, the seating station, I'm going to go and take that out. So when I charge a case, I guess just take the screw, okay, it's up. I loosen the screw, backed it off, and flipped it out. Now when it comes over here, I can remove the case and check it on the powder scale. So, and also I should probably prime these. So see, this is where I'm going to get my priming arm in there, prime them, and check my powder. And then once this station is set and ready, I'll have some charged. I'll set the next station where I'll seat the bullets, and then the crimp one, and we should be ready to start rolling. So I've taken the arm out, and now I'm going to prime some cases and charge them and see what we get. Okay, now I kind of remember why I don't fool with progressively loaders. Was fooling around with this and had to adjust it. After what I didn't have the reservoir open. So once I got powder flowing and got some cases charged, I realized I was flaring the necks out too much. So I had to back that off a turn to get it up to where now it's flaring out the neck fairly nice and it's still doing an actuation. Then I had trouble with the primer feed. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to cycle a few cases through and put them on a reloading block. See if I can get my primer thing to work, which it looks like it is. And again, the reason I said I don't like progressive reloaders is like seating the primer. You gotta, there's 5 or 6 things going on, you gotta pay attention to each and every single one of them. So I got that done. Now we're gonna go up, and it seems I have to adjust this. Doesn't quite want to line up. So I'm having trouble there. And as I add more stations, if this is problematic. So we'll go up, we get our charge, which seems to be the powder measure, and that seems to be working fine. See, we automatically index, come down, prime, yep, that case, I gotta get my weights in there. Take out my charge case, and we're gonna weigh the powder charges. I was close, and after I ran a few, I was about 2/10 of a grain off, so I had to back the screw out a little. And I'm gonna make sure we're just going real slow. Go up. Primer feed. That was giving me a little bit of trouble, and I have no idea what caused it. Okay, seat the primer. And I'll also check, see if I'm seating the primers deep enough. That's the only problem with a progressive reloader. Alright, that one went in fairly well. Primer, index, seat the primer, okay, and I'll see now if I got these 4 charges. The powder measure seems to be accurate. I'm going to go and weigh these charges and see, and if they're good, we'll go on and we'll call that set and go on to setting the next station. Okay, it looks like we got it set, and I'm pretty successful with it. I'm throwing a consistent within 1/10 of a grain. Alright, powder charge. And that's what you want from any powder measure, you know, expensive ones or whatever. So Lee's got another winner. What I was talking about is this little thing here. When you see it like go up to the top, you know you're getting a full thing, but that's not quite true because I was flaring the necks too heavily. So I took the whole thing and rotated it 1 turn, and it flares the necks good, and I'm getting a consistent powder charge. So I'm confident enough that this powder measure is set and throwing the charge that I want. I will check it, but I've checked 5 in a row and they vary, you know, they're all 1/10 below my exact charge, and then one of them was right on the money. So I'm going to leave it alone for now. With my type of reloading, I like being on the low side. I'd rather have 1/10 not enough powder than 1/10 too much. Now the priming thing got stuck or something, and I had to fool with that, but I got it to where it's working now. So this is working. My tube feeder's working, and then what I'm going to do here in the next, I'm going to do it in one video, is I'm going to set the seating and crimping. And here is that thing I was talking about, the little arm. I loosened so I could just pull out the cases, but I'm going to have to set that back for the next thing. The only thing about this is you automatically index. I don't know, and you don't want to try to short step it because it'll throw it out of whack. It automatically indexes, and like on a Dillon where you had pins, you could pull stuff out at any point. This here you got to get a screwdriver, move that little arm out. So that's about the only disadvantage. But once we set it, if it stays good, I mean, we'll see. So that's it for setting the auto drum powder measure. And now we're going to go on to the next phase. And maybe today we'll get it set up to where we'll be cranking out some rounds.